It began like any ordinary afternoon broadcast, laughter, chatter, and the cozy rhythm of daytime television. But within minutes, the Loose Women show would morph into one of the most shocking live TV meltdowns in British talk show history. Yes, you clicked because you heard it. Dame Judi Dench stormed off the set. And yes, it's all true. What happened that day wasn't scripted, wasn't playful, and wasn't pretty. It was fury, raw, elegant, unfiltered fury. A clash between two powerful women who've lived very different lives but shared one stage too long. And by the time the cameras cut to commercial, the internet had already exploded. Before we dive in, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Let's see how far across the world this fiery Showdown reached. Thursday, 12:35 p.m. ITV Studios, London. The live audience of the Loose Women show was buzzing. The energy was bright, friendly, the kind you only get when British icons meet live on air. Dame Judi Dench, the national treasure, the Oscar winner, the face of wisdom and wit, was the day's headline guest. She was there to discuss her new charity project and her reflections on aging gracefully in Hollywood. Across the table sat Denise Welch, outspoken, unapologetic, known for her fiery takes on politics, mental health, and celebrity culture. She'd never met Judi on camera before, but she had opinions, plenty of them. As the theme music faded and the applause died down, presenter Charlene White introduced the show. Welcome back to Loose Women. Today we've got a legend in the studio, Dame Judi Dench herself. The crowd roared. Judi smiled, that familiar twinkle in her eye. Denise clapped, too, but something in her body language felt tight. Nobody knew it yet, but that smile was about to fade fast. The segment began lightly. Judi spoke about theater, storytelling, and her decades-long career. Denise asked playfully, "Do you ever get tired of being perfect, Judi?" The audience laughed, but Judi responded with grace. "Perfect? Goodness, no. I've had more mistakes than medals, dear." Laughter again, but Denise pressed. "Well, some of us don't have the luxury of being adored no matter what we say." The studio fell quiet. Judi raised an eyebrow, sharp, calculating. "I think adoration is earned, not given." A few gasps rippled through the audience. The tone had shifted, and everyone could feel it. Charlene tried to steer the topic back to acting, but Denise wasn't done. "With respect, Judi, you live in a bubble. You get knighted, praised, and protected. Some of us speak our minds and get crucified for it." Judi folded her hands. Calm, composed. "That's not a bubble, Denise. That's decades of discipline." Applause, light but supportive. Denise smiled tightly. "Or decades of being careful not to upset the wrong people." Gasps. Judi leaned in, eyes narrowing slightly. "I've upset plenty of people in my time. I just don't make a brand of it." The crowd exploded with nervous laughter. Denise's face hardened. She wasn't smiling anymore. The segment, originally planned as a 10-minute light interview, began spiraling. Every question now carried tension. Every pause felt loaded. Denise crossed her arms. "See, this is what I mean. Celebrities lecture everyone else on how to behave. Meanwhile, the rest of us live in the real world." Judi replied, coolly, "The real world doesn't vanish when you win awards, Denise. It follows you everywhere, even onto the sofa." The audience laughed and applauded again, sensing Judi had landed a hit. But Denise wasn't backing down. "The difference is, you get applause for your opinions. I get headlines." "Maybe the problem isn't the headlines," Judi replied, "but how you earn them." Charlene looked straight into the camera, panic flickering in her eyes. This was not in the script. Then came the breaking point. Denise interrupted Judi mid-sentence, raising her voice. "You talk about kindness and grace, but you've never sat here and been called every name under the sun just for saying something honest." Judi's tone sharpened, her calm mask slipping. "Honesty without respect isn't bravery, it's noise." Applause erupted, loud, thunderous. Denise turned toward the audience. "Oh, so now we're grading honesty? Maybe people are just tired of polite hypocrisy." Judi leaned forward. "And maybe some people mistake aggression for authenticity." The studio gasped. Even Charlene's cue card slipped from her hands. Seconds stretched into eternity. Denise's jaw tightened. Judi crossed her legs slowly, exhaled, and said softly, almost to herself, "I think I've said quite enough." She reached down, unclipped her mic, and stood up. Charlene reached out. "Dame Judi, please." But the legend was already walking off the set. The audience erupted into a swirl of whispers and camera flashes. Denise stared ahead, pale, shaken. ITV producers scrambled. The screen cut abruptly to commercials, the theme music echoing awkwardly over the chaos. When the show returned, Judi was gone. Denise sat rigid, pretending to sip tea. Charlene, pale as paper, addressed viewers. "We're, going to take a short break and reset the conversation." But everyone watching at home knew nothing could reset what had just happened. Twitter lit up instantly. Did Judi Dench just walk off Loose Women live? Denise pushed too far again. That was painful and iconic. In under an hour, hashtag Loose Women Meltdown trended across the UK. Clips flooded online within minutes. And for the first time in years, the genteel world of British daytime talk had turned into an international spectacle. When ITV cut to commercials that Thursday afternoon, millions thought it was a minor hiccup. But within the next 60 minutes, that hiccup would ignite an online wildfire that no PR team could contain. At 1:06 p.m., a viewer's smartphone recording of Judi Dench unclipping her mic hit X, formerly Twitter. By 1:10, it had 700,000 views. By 1:30, The Guardian and Daily Mail were already publishing breaking banners. Dame Judi Dench walks off set after explosive Loose Women exchange with Denise Welch. Morning chat groups, WhatsApp mum circles, and Reddit threads blew up with arguments over who started it. Some called Denise brave. Others called her cruel. Everyone agreed on one thing. They had never seen Dame Judi that angry. By 2 p.m., ITV executives were in full crisis mode. Phones rang nonstop. Advertisers demanded answers. And producers were re-watching the raw feed in disbelief. One email from a senior director leaked online later that day. "Do not delete the footage. Legal must review before PR statements go out." Another replied bluntly, "We need control. This could either kill or crown the show." That single line summed up the gamble ahead. At 3 p.m., Denise went live on Instagram. No makeup, no studio lights. Just her, still in the floral blouse she'd worn on air. "I did not attack Judi. We were having a discussion that got real. I've always been honest, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise." The comments section exploded. "You went too far. Denise, don't apologize for being real." For the first hour, she looked composed. But when a viewer typed, "You made a national treasure cry," her voice cracked. "If I did, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention." The clip went viral again, and this time, sympathy began to tilt. While Denise defended herself publicly, Judi disappeared. No statements. No press. Not even her publicist answered calls. Paparazzi camped outside her Surrey home for hours before a brief sighting. Judi in a gray coat, looking tired but composed, carrying a copy of Tess of the D'Urberville. That single photo sold to tabloids for £18,000. Headline: "The calm after the storm." But silence, as it always does in media, only made the noise louder. Within 24 hours, British Twitter resembled a courtroom. Piers Morgan tweeted, "This is why we need less fake niceness and more real talk." Denise was brave. Emma Thompson responded an hour later. "Calling someone fake for being graceful isn't bravery. It's bullying." Ricky Gervais added fuel. "Two icons, one sofa, and more drama than Hollywood. 10 out of 10 television." Suddenly, Loose Women, a show usually discussed over tea and biscuits, had become primetime headline news. Morning polls on ITV's website showed an even split. 48% supported Judi Dench. 45% stood with Denise Welch. 7% just voted. Who cares? That was iconic. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Body language expert breaks down Dench versus Welch. Psychologist explains why Denise lost control. A TikTok edit set to dramatic music racked up 12 million views in a day. The caption read, Grace versus Grit. Who won? Then came the moment that changed everything. On Friday morning, The Sun published a transcript of the off-air mic feed, captured as producers cut to commercial. It revealed Denise muttering, "Let her walk off if she wants. We don't bow to royalty here." Judi had replied, barely audible, "I'm not royalty, dear. I'm just done being spoken to like that." The internet lost its mind. Memes, merch, even t-shirts appeared overnight. "I'm not royalty, dear, I'm done." It became a symbol of Grace, standing up for self-respect. By Saturday, the network released a carefully crafted statement. Loose Women encourages lively debate, but deeply regrets the heated exchange that occurred. "We are in contact with both parties." But fans weren't satisfied. They wanted Judi's side, in her own voice. Rumors circulated that she'd given an exclusive to the BBC. Others claimed she was considering boycotting daytime TV entirely. Either way, the nation waited. On Sunday night, Denise appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored. The studio was dim, serious, different from her usual comfort zone. Halfway through the interview, Piers asked, "If you could say one thing to Dame Judi right now, what would it be?" Her voice shook. "I'd say, I never meant to disrespect her, but I won't apologize for being real." Piers leaned forward. "Do you think she'll ever forgive you?" Denise paused, looked straight into the camera. "Forgive me? Maybe. Forget? Never." The clip hit every news feed within an hour. Public sympathy swung again, but this time toward Judi. Monday morning, BBC Radio 4's Woman's Hour. Host Emma Barnett opened with the words everyone had been waiting for. And joining us now, Dame Judi Dench. Her voice was measured, gentle, but piercing. "I don't hold anger, but I do believe we owe each other respect, especially women in the public eye. We already get enough arrows from the world. We don't need to throw them at each other." The nation fell silent. Clips of her interview spread like wildfire across platforms. Even those who backed Denise had to admit, Judi's grace had won the internet. That night, newspapers called it the new Diana moment of television, when elegance met emotion and refused to crumble. University panels debated authenticity versus decorum. Sociologists called it the turning point of modern media etiquette. And amid it all, Denise Welch tweeted one cryptic sentence. "When the world cheers for Grace, remember, someone had to bleed for it." Thousands retweeted it with the caption, "The drama isn't over." By the time the new week began, ITV wasn't just dealing with scandal. They were sitting on a ratings goldmine wrapped in moral chaos. For the first time in years, daytime television was being discussed in Parliament bars, celebrity WhatsApp groups, and university seminars. Everyone had an opinion, but one question ruled them all. Would Judi Dench ever return to Loose Women? Friday's episode, the one Judi stormed off, became the most replayed daytime segment in British TV history. ITV's streaming service crashed twice under the surge of replays. Clips of Denise's defiant stare and Judi's graceful exit were remixed into TikToks with dramatic soundtracks. Even Good Morning America and The View in the U.S. picked it up, calling it the British meltdown everyone's talking about. American audiences who barely knew Loose Women suddenly had opinions on Denise Welch's tone of voice. One U.S. commenter joked, "I don't know what a loose woman is, but apparently they're tighter than we thought." In a dim boardroom at ITV's Grays and Road headquarters, executives met in silence. The head of daytime programming broke it first. "We can't bury this. The numbers are insane. The world's watching." Another producer chimed in, "What if we bring them back together?" The table froze. "You mean on live TV?" "Exactly. Judi and Denise, face to face. 1 hour, no cuts, no interruptions." There was hesitation, then whispers of excitement. It was risky, but if it worked, it could redefine British daytime forever. They gave it a name, The Conversation. Denise received her call first. Her agent's voice trembled slightly. "They want you to come back for a sit-down. Just you and Judi." "Are they serious?" "They're calling it restorative television." Denise sighed. "Or televised humiliation." Meanwhile, a separate letter went out to Judi's team, handwritten, sealed, and delivered personally by an ITV executive. It reads simply, "This isn't about controversy. It's about closure. You decide the tone." For days, no one knew if she'd respond. On Wednesday morning, her assistant spotted a small note on Judi's kitchen counter. 3 words written in blue ink. "I'll do it." When ITV received confirmation, the newsroom erupted. The Dench Welch reunion special was greenlit instantly. Producers dubbed it the most anticipated talk show in a decade. Behind the scenes, however, not everyone was celebrating. Staffers whispered that Denise felt set up, that she'd be the villain in a redemption narrative scripted for sympathy. And maybe she was right. 3 days before the live show, internal ITV emails leaked to tabloids. One message from a senior producer read, "Ensure camera 3 stays on Judi for emotional reaction shots. Her restraint sells better than Denise's aggression." Another, "Soft lighting for Judi. Neutral tone for Denise. We don't want visual bias accusations, but optics matter." Public reaction was swift and brutal. So they're scripting empathy now? They're turning real pain into a spectacle. Still, the excitement didn't die down. It doubled. Monday, 11:45 a.m. London traffic snarled outside ITV studios as fans crowded the entrance. News vans lined the streets. Paparazzi shouted questions like it was a royal wedding. Inside, crew members whispered nervously. The 2 women were in separate dressing rooms. No contact, no rehearsal, no words exchanged. Producers banned mobile phones and live social posts from staff until the segment ended. The risk of another leak was too high. At 12:20 p.m., the floor manager's voice crackled through the comms. "They're both here. We're live in 10. In her dressing room, Denise stared into the mirror, muttering lines under her breath. Her makeup artist, sensing her nerves, asked softly, "You ready for this?" Does anyone ever get ready to face a national treasure? Across the hall, Judi sat quietly with a cup of tea. She wasn't rehearsing, just breathing. Her assistant whispered, "You don't have to do this." "No," Judi replied. "I have to finish it." The lights dimmed. A new, slower version of the Loose Women theme played. Charlene White appeared on screen, her voice steady but heavy. Today, in a special broadcast, 2 remarkable women sit down for a conversation about respect, honesty, and the power of listening. The camera panned to the set, redesigned with softer colors, warm lighting, and a round table between the 2 women. Then, from opposite sides of the stage, Judi Dench and Denise Welch entered. No applause, no music, just silence. They sat, and for a few seconds it felt like eternity. They just looked at each other. Charlene broke the silence. "Denise, Judi, thank you both for being here. Millions have watched what happened last week. How do you both feel sitting here now?" Denise spoke first, embarrassed, exhausted, and, honestly, misunderstood. Judi smiled faintly. "Honesty, that's a good place to start." Denise exhaled. "Look, I don't hate you, Judi, but I felt cornered that day. I felt like my opinions were being judged, not heard." Judi nodded. "Perhaps they were, and perhaps mine were, too." The audience held its breath. For a moment, it seemed calm, until Charlene asked, "Would either of you take back what you said?" Denise answered quickly, "No, because I meant it." Judi replied softly, "Neither would I, but I wish I'd said it with more kindness." The audience murmured, visibly moved. But before anyone could relax, Denise added, "Kindness doesn't mean silence. Sometimes people need to hear the hard truth." Judi leaned forward, her tone still gentle but pointed. "And sometimes the hard truth is that not every opinion needs an audience." The crowd gasped again. Even after all this time, the fire hadn't died. Charlene looked panicked, but Judi raised a hand. "It's all right," she said. "We're talking." Denise sighed, visibly holding back tears. "You make it sound so easy, Judi. But when people like me speak up, we're called loud or unstable. When people like you speak up, it's called wisdom." The room went dead quiet. Judi didn't respond right away. Then, "You're right." The crowd gasped again, but Judi continued. "It's unfair, but it's real. And that's why we needed to sit here, because if women tear each other apart on air, the world learns it's okay to do the same. The audience broke into applause, not forced, but genuine. As the segment neared its midpoint, the broadcast cut to break. Denise wiped her eyes. Judi reached across the table, gently touching her hand. We can finish this properly when we come back. But backstage, executives were panicking. The segment was too raw, too honest, too unedited. Some demanded they cut it short. Others said, let it breathe, this is history. The final act would decide who was right. When Loose Women returned from the break, the cameras captured a sight few viewers ever expected to see. Two women, once locked in public warfare, now sitting quietly. No makeup retouches, no teleprompter smiles, just honesty and fatigue. You could feel the world watching. Charlene White spoke softly. We're back. And before we continue, I just want to say, what you're seeing right now isn't rehearsed. It's real. And that's exactly why we're here. The audience applauded politely, still unsure which way the storm would blow. Denise broke the silence first. I've been called dramatic, difficult, even dangerous. Maybe I am. But that day, I wasn't trying to attack anyone. I just didn't want to feel invisible. Judi nodded slowly. Invisible? My dear, no one could ever miss you. A few laughs. Relief flickered through the room. Charlene leaned in. Judi, you stayed silent all week. Why speak now? Because silence can protect you for a while, Judi said. But it doesn't heal anything. I left that day not because I was angry, but because I was disappointed in myself for walking away instead of listening. Gasps and murmurs filled the studio. Denise's eyes glistened. You don't have to take all the blame, Judi. I should have listened too. I was so busy defending myself, I forgot I wasn't being attacked. The two women looked at each other, not as rivals, but as mirrors. Judi reached out across the table again, this time with trembling hands. Then let's both apologize. Not to each other, but to everyone watching who thinks women have to fight to be heard. The audience rose to its feet. Applause rolled through the studio like thunder. Even the camera operators were misty-eyed. Denise wiped her cheeks and said softly, You know, I always envied your grace. I just didn't know how to ask you how to have it. Grace isn't a talent, Judi replied. It's a choice you have to make every time someone tries to take your peace. Back home, millions were glued to their screens. Twitter trended worldwide under hashtag Loose Women Redemption. Clips of Judi's line, Grace isn't a talent. It's a choice, spread faster than the original argument ever had. Morning shows paused their regular programming to replay the reunion live. Even BBC News interrupted coverage to call it a rare human moment in British broadcasting. A YouTube comment summed it up best. They didn't just reconcile, they reminded us what respect looks like. Just when viewers thought the show was winding down, Charlene hesitated. Before we go, is there anything either of you want to say to the viewers who took sides? Denise turned toward the audience. Thank you, even to the ones who call me every name under the sun. You made me face myself. Judi smiled. And thank you to those who stayed kind. You proved Grace can go viral too. The audience erupted into applause, tears, laughter. A collective exhale after a week of tension. Then Judi added one final line, the sentence that would make newspaper headlines across the world. The real victory isn't walking off, it's walking back. Silence. Then standing ovation. Even Denise rose to clap. When cameras cut, producers were in tears. ITV executives hugged in disbelief. The segment had run 22 minutes without a single cut. One crew member whispered, We just saved daytime television. Backstage, Denise and Judi met again privately. No cameras, no audience. Just two women in a hallway, exhausted but lighter. Denise said quietly, You know, you could have destroyed me out there. Judi smiled. I'd rather restore you. They hugged, long, genuine, and wordless. Within hours, every outlet from the Telegraph to Variety carried the headline, Dame Judi and Denise reunite, a masterclass in grace. Podcasts dissected every phrase. Talk radio hosts called it the apology Britain needed. Even former critics admitted it was the most compelling moment on live television in a decade. ITV's official YouTube upload hit 50 million views in a week, double the network's biggest soap opera finale, and both women's social media followers skyrocketed. But this time, it wasn't outrage driving the clicks. It was admiration. Months later, Judi appeared at the BAFTA Awards, greeted by a 2-minute standing ovation. When asked about Loose Women, she smiled. "That show taught me something. You don't lose dignity when you speak up. You lose it when you stop listening." Denise, meanwhile, launched a charity campaign called The Conversation Matters, dedicated to open dialogue and mental health awareness. Its slogan? Real talk doesn't have to hurt. Together, they turned scandal into service. Media historians later described it as the moment British daytime television grew up. What began as chaos ended as catharsis, proving that even in an age of clickbait and controversy, authenticity could still win. ITV introduced a new segment inspired by the event, Rewind and Reconcile. Each week, public figures revisited moments of misunderstanding to find common ground. The pilot episode featured 2 political rivals and drew record numbers. And yes, sitting quietly in the front row that day was Dame Judi Dench herself, smiling as Denise Welch hosted the discussion. When the cameras first rolled, the world expected fireworks. What they got instead was something rarer, forgiveness. In an industry addicted to outrage, Judi Dench and Denise Welch reminded millions that strength isn't in shouting the loudest, it's in knowing when to lower your voice. Cue soft piano music. Fade out on a still image of their handshake, dedicated to everyone brave enough to walk back into the room.